Midnight in Paris in the late 14th century. Flickering candlelight dances across the walls of a small workshop. A man bends over an ancient manuscript, its pages covered with mysterious symbols. Before him, a silvery liquid bubbles in a crucible. He murmurs quiet formulas, and indeed, a reddish gleam flashes through the metal. Nicolas Flamel slowly straightens up. Has he just achieved the impossible? According to legend, at this very moment, Flamel possesses the Philosopher's Stone, the mythical artifact said to transform base metals into gold and even grant the elixir of eternal life. A triumph of alchemy that would bestow immortality upon Flamel and his wife, Perenelle. Stories tell that the literate Flamel once saw an angel in a dream, showing him a mysterious book. Obsessed with its riddles, he spent 21 years trying to decipher them. Finally, so the tale goes, Nicolas and Perenelle Flamel came close to immortality in 1382. On January 17th, he allegedly turned mercury into silver, and on April 25th, he succeeded in creating pure gold. From that day on, legend claims the couple possessed immense wealth and the secret to eternal life. Supposedly, Nicolas and Perenelle later faked their own deaths, and indeed, treasure hunters who opened their graves years later found them empty. In Paris, whispers spread that the couple had fled to distant lands with the elixir of life. Rumors claimed that a French traveler in the 18th century met an eternally young Flamel in Turkey. Even in 1854, the famous writer Victor Hugo was said to have encountered Flamel's spirit during a séance. Since then, Flamel's name has haunted literature, occultism, and pop culture, from The Hunchback of Notre Dame to Harry Potter. But how much truth lies behind it all? As thrilling as this story sounds, it mostly belongs to the world of myth. Nicolas Flamel truly existed, but his real life looked very different. Born around 1330 in humble circumstances near Paris, he began his career as a simple scribe. Educated and multilingual, he knew Latin, French, and some Hebrew. Flamel copied manuscripts for a living. In 1355, he married Perenelle, a wealthy widow who brought considerable fortune into the marriage. Together, they opened a writing shop and bookstore near the church of Saint-Jacques de la Boucherie in Paris. Flamel used Perenelle's dowry to expand the business and establish a workshop for illuminated manuscripts. He traded books and invested wisely in property. His diligence and skill paid off. Over the decades, Nicolas and Perenelle became prosperous and known for their charity. They donated money to churches, hospices, and food for the poor, but even commissioning a new gate for the Church of Saint Jacques in 1399. When Perenelle died in 1397, she left Nicolas a large inheritance. Flamel himself died in Paris in 1418. Some sources say 1413, at nearly 88 years old, an exceptional age for the time, which may already have inspired speculation. Flamel's life is well documented through numerous contemporary records, including his will, all of which survive today. Yet not one of them mentions alchemy or the Philosopher's Stone. Historians emphasize that Flamel's posthumous reputation as a miraculous alchemist arose only centuries later. There is no evidence that Nicolas Flamel ever practiced alchemy or wrote any alchemical texts. His elaborately designed tombstone, crafted by Flamel himself in 1410, still exists and, contrary to persistent claims, bears no secret ciphers or mystical symbols, only Christian imagery. The apostles Peter and Paul, and Christ. In short, the historical record shows Flamel as a wealthy Parisian scribe and benefactor, not a magician. So why did Nicolas Flamel become the most famous alchemist in history? The roots of the myth lie in the centuries following his death. His remarkable wealth raised questions. Many found it hard to believe that a humble scribe could lawfully accumulate such fortune. People sought alternative explanations. By the 15th century, rumors circulated that Flamel had transformed mercury first into silver, then into gold. In the 16th century, works began appearing under his name. In 1561, a Parisian publisher released a compendium on metal transmutation that falsely attributed a summary of philosophy to Flamel. The greatest boost to the legend came in 1612 when the Livre de Figures Hieroglyphique was published in Paris, allegedly written by Flamel and backdated to 1399. Its preface recounted Flamel's transformation from scribe to alchemist in full detail, the angelic vision, 21 years of decoding, the journey to Spain, and finally the successful creation of the Philosopher's Stone with Perenelle's help. The story was spectacular, convincing, and soon made Flamel a symbol of the ultimate alchemical success. Today, however, we know the book is a forgery. Scholars as early as the 18th century doubted its authenticity. Modern research shows the Livre des Figures hieroglyphiques was likely written around 1590 by unknown occultists who used Flamel's good name to lend credibility to their own writings. In other words, 17th century alchemists invented the legend of Nicolas Flamel to give their philosophies a hero. Because the Philosopher's Stone was believed to grant not only gold, but also eternal life, later authors expanded the story to include immortality. Thus, the image of the immortal alchemist Nicolas Flamel was born. In the following centuries, the legend took on a life of its own. Flamel's real burial site in Paris was forgotten over time, fueling speculation that he had staged his own death. Sensationalist treasure hunters looted his house and even his grave, searching for hidden manuscripts or gold. Ever wilder tales arose of the eternally wandering Flamel, of secret societies venerating him as a grand master. In literature, too, Nicolas Flamel lived on. Authors from Victor Hugo to J.K. Rowling drew inspiration from him. Precisely because his true biography was modest and fragmentary, each new storyteller could project fresh mysteries onto him. Nicolas Flamel, the historical Parisian citizen, neither created the Philosopher's Stone nor conquered death. His true treasures were diligence, learning, and his partnership with Perronel. Yet the power of legend has granted him a different kind of immortality. More than 600 years after his death, his name still lives, whether in history books, conspiracy theories, or fantasy novels. The truth behind the myth may be far more ordinary, but that very contrast makes Flamel's story so captivating. Sometimes the birth of a legend is as fascinating as the legend itself.